is. I had a baby gibbon and a baby eland. Isn't that awesome? So a gibbon is an ape. And there's a problem with English in the word ape because people think of the great apes. When you say ape, they think of King Kong, which is, nothing like what any apes look like because he's so big. So when you say something's an ape and it's littler than a person, people are like, that's a monkey. But there are apes and monkeys and people. And people are big compared to most apes. So people get confused and they see a chimpanzee and they think it's a monkey. And they see a gibbon and they think it's a monkey. And unless it's a silverback gorilla right in their face, they think, well, how come they're not bigger? But they're not bigger. We're big. They're not that big. A gorilla can be big, but all the rest, they're not that big. So an ape is without a tail. So people say we're apes. A monkey has a tail. And I think instead of educating the public, which seems like a lost cause, we just use different words. So maybe instead of monkey, we say simian. And yes, that chimpanzee is a simian. Yes, that monkey is a simian. Because apes confuse people. You've got the great apes and the lesser apes. And like I just said, even the great apes don't seem that great as far as size. So maybe we just need to use the word simian. Don't know. Language is imprecise and language changes all the time. And nobody's asking me. But I always thought dictionaries are a little off. And they have to be because there's so many variables. But English is changing all the time because English adopts words from other languages, changes their pronunciation, maybe changes their spelling, but it takes on words all the time of other spelling systems and other alphabets. So they have to be transliterated, they have to be, somebody has to decide how it's spelled. Like in Chinese, it's either pinyin or it's Yale. But in our alphabet, you really can't replicate Chinese pronunciation, not really. So do we change the language to people's understanding, or do we try to educate people into what the words mean? Or do we just let the words change? I mean, right to choose takes the choice away from the baby. Well, the baby doesn't have a choice anyway, but the right to choose makes sure that somebody never has a choice of any kind. And that's called right to choose. Marriage equality means marriage means something different than it ever meant before in the history of mankind. So how is that equal? It's not just making something equal to marriage, it's just changing what marriage meant. Just change the words, change the meaning. The vaccine. Well, it wasn't even a vaccine. Legally, it had to be changed. The definition of vaccine had to be changed legally to include the shot everybody was supposed to take. Why didn't they call it what it was? And then maybe anti-vaxxers would have taken it. Maybe not, but don't like changing words just opposite of what they used to mean, but words change. Yes, they do. God be with you became goodbye. When people say goodbye, they are no longer talking about God, but they used to be. Vaya con Dios. Bon voyage. Bon appetit. They just become words and phrases, and my best example of that is, how are you? And then people say good or fine, and they're not good or fine. They just say good or fine because that's one of the two acceptable responses to how are you? How are you? Good. Yeah, I'm having a really bad day. How are you? Fine. Yeah, I'm really having a bad day. It's like you say good or fine first, and then you may or may not actually answer the question because words change. And it's just a platitude, just something you say. Speaking of which, no problem is not an acceptable substitute for your welcome, in my opinion. In my humble opinion, I am H.O. In my opinion, that is not humble. I am O-T-I-N-H. My opinion, that is not humble. When people say thank you, just say you're welcome. Don't say no problem. So, that's it for today's ramble. Today's opening night. So now we're on to current events. Last night was as good as it could have been. You know, one actor messed up one line and totally covered it up. I'm sure a couple more lines were messed up, but, you know, I didn't even notice. I totally forgot I have 50 words and I forgot 25 of them, but I just said said something that meant what the lines should say. But I won't do that anymore. I'll just go back to the script and say word for word for word. You get out on stage and you kind of either blank or blink or something. I didn't mess anybody up, but I wasn't happy with it. I'd like to say the words as written. And there's so few words, there's no reason why I can't. So we've got about a week, and then the show's over, and then I guess I'll be spending more time with the Gibbons and the Eland. So that's it for today's episode of Driving Perilously, and we're marching into March. We're getting close to